By the way, let's just talk about Philadelphia last night. I was joking to start the show. You know, they sat and coached for a lot of years. Now the Eagles are great, Nova's great, and they won 17 straight. It's like, come on up to first class. And they're like doing mimosas. And then it's like, you're an injury away from going back to row 42 in the middle. So let's slow down a little bit.
Right. There is a certain pacing yourself to when you get into first class, right? You can't just start pounding drinks, 6-hour flight, you're passed out.
People do it, though.
Yes, they do.
I know they do, but then they miss the meal, right?
Yes, right.
They miss people feeding you grapes. I mean, that's what happens to me. And I'm kidding. But you do though. You're like, man, I could sit here, I can watch all these movies, and then you're like, would you like something to drink? Like, yes, I would. You take 3 or 4 drinks, you pass out, you fall asleep, you wake up.
I've done that.
And you might as well have been in coach or stowage or whatever. Yeah. I thought they showed that they weren't ready for prime time.
How?
Last night. Well, they were down big and they made a big run, but then you get close and you take bad shots, you turn the basketball over. They didn't see Dwayne Wade, who sneakily steals the basketball.
Yeah.
They get confused on an easy pick and roll play and give up a dunk. Dwayne Wade gets an offensive rebound. Dwayne Wade was incredible last night.
He was.
And that's what kind of all-timers do. I tweeted out that there's a Toby Keith song. I know you're a big Toby Keith fan.
I know Toby Keith, Oklahoma guy, yeah.
Okay, right. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
That's a great line.
That's Dwayne Wade.
By the way,
night.
Kobe Bryant, 60 last game, but Kobe couldn't give you that back-to-back.
And I think Wade is honestly, Wade will go down or should go down in a kind of a Derek Jeter of basketball sort of way. Like he's great. He was never at the level of LeBron, Kevin Durant. Maybe even Kobe in terms of his greatness in one season. Maybe Kobe is maybe a parallel, but he has this clutchness about him, this ability to, when he won an NBA championship with Shaq, granted, he lived at the foul line, but there was ability to put his team on his back.
Yep.
And he did it at times with LeBron. He is more clutch than good, and he's really, really good, but if you tell the story of Dwayne Wade, you have to tell the story of he wasn't a very good shooter his entire career, but you would believe he would make the big shot.
I think that's a real parallel, is that Jeter was never as talented as Alex Rodriguez. He wasn't. And by the way, D. Wade's never been as talented as Kobe and his contemporaries. But there is something to be said about D. Wade in big spots. And by the way, I find Jeter and D. Wade incredibly easy to root for. There's very few pro athletes that are stars and relatable. Like if you ran into Jeter on a New York street, you're like, Jeets, love you. I walked into a steakhouse with D. Wade, and he's like, hey, what's up? Like they're kind of, it's the old Meg Ryan. She's a Hollywood star, but you feel like you could date her. I think D. Wade is one of the most embraceable stars of my lifetime. So here's a story, Doug.
Okay.
So Joel Embiid didn't play last night because Philadelphia, shocker, is a little worried about any injury, and they are coddling him a little bit. He's a max player, and he freaked out. He goes to social media. He is outraged. Let me back the Sixers on this. A big part of the process, Doug, has been that most of their players at some point have been hurt. Shouldn't they be a little hesitant to throw him back out there?
Yes. Now, listen, I believe that Joel Embiid rightfully carries the torch as being injury-prone, right? That's just fair. Is. On the other hand, this is not an injury of an injury-prone player.
Right.
He gets his face broken.
Yeah.
It's around his eye socket. They're concerned about his vision. They're concerned about his future. But like, look, this is a lot like you're flying in first class now. Like, you can tweet out stuff and Instagram stuff out in the regular season and no one's going to care. But there is a certain genius to LeBron James, whether it's real or whether he just says he's going 0 dark 30. He can't be Brett Brown just got done losing a game in which they're down 20, they cut it to 4, and they really crapped the bed. That's what they did.
Yeah.
They had ample opportunities to win that game because they do have more skill.
They do.
Than a Miami does. There's
do.
no rightful reason Miami should beat them on their home floor. So Brett Brown shouldn't be answering questions about, hey, did you see what Joel Embiid posted on Instagram? You're like, no, I was coaching the game and trying to get my team refocused. This is immaturity. This is the distraction. And I'll back the Sixers. He's going to play. I know that you are your own best doctor, and I'm sure he feels fine, and I'm sure he could play with that mask on. But I think in this, you just have to trust that doctors are being extra cautious because they actually believe you can be a once-in-a-generation type of big. That's how good he can be.
Yeah, he is.
Right? Like, the first time I saw Joel Embiid, I went to Kansas practice, and they were getting ready to play San Diego State.
Yeah.
And I was watching Andrew Wiggins, and he's like, no, that's the guy who's the Hall of Famer. I was like, Embiid? He's like, Hall of Fame big guy. Trust me. Watch his
Bill
feet,
Self
watch
told
his
you
head.
that?
Yes. And he will be, if he stays healthy,
yes,
he'll be a first ballot Hall of Fame
no
big
question.
guy. He's got to trust the process, which is being healthy. Do I think doctors are overcautious? Sure. They see that Boston's doctors are going to get sued by Isaiah Thomas. And I know there's no correlation in the injuries, but when you're talking about protecting a guy's eye, especially in the playoffs, and you're 7 feet tall, you're at 6'8", 6'9" guys, they're going to hit you with your headbutt or with an elbow if you duck your head down. They're being extra cautious for a reason.
Okay, Brett Brown is on with Doug on Fox Sports Radio interview today. That'll be good stuff. All right, so here's the thing, is that I'm gonna correlate the Popovich and Belichick.
Okay.
When you've got Brady or a Duncan in a prime, it's kind of funny when you're rude at a press conference and you're kind of dogmatic and it's your way or the highway. But then when like Duncan retires or Brady gets old or tired of your voice, and you find out that winning even for great coaches is damn hard. It's really hard. And when Belichick doesn't have Brady in 2 years, he's going to lose all those close games with whoever his young quarterback he's developing. And I watch Popovich. He's a great coach. I thought it's amazing they're a playoff team this year. But, Doug, could I not make the argument that, like Belichick, you got to evolve as a coach, too? And that stern, my way, I think it's turned off Kawhi Leonard. I mean, this kid doesn't have – I mean –
I kind of think you're connecting two things which are not really connected because he has evolved as a coach. I mean, just look at how they played. Early on, when they won his first title, he had David Robinson, who couldn't win the big game until they got Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And he ran basically high-low basketball. Okay, then they morphed and changed styles to more of a European style as they got more European players. Like, they've run a different style of offense every time they've won an NBA title. So he has evolved as an offensive coach. And he's evolved into this professorial, super woke, very liberal, very active spokesperson for the left in regards to the NBA, which I do think a lot of NBA players are drawn to.
Yeah.
On the other hand, he has this kind of old school mentality of the players play, coaches coach, and front office people do what front office people do. I'm just going to disagree with you. This is arguably his greatest coaching job ever. They've done it. Kawhi Leonard played 9 games this year. They wanted to get rid of LaMarcus Aldridge, and LaMarcus Aldridge wanted to get rid of them after 1 year.
Yeah.
And if you heard what he said about LaMarcus Aldridge, basically he's saying, like, look, he bought into our way of life, and it's worked out for him. If you buy into he still believes the Spurs way works. I think the Spurs way has worked. I think what's missing right now is the third best player in the NBA. Without Kawhi Leonard, they can't compete with the Spurs. They were competitive last night, even with this depleted and aging core roster.
Okay, so let's go to the LeBron thing. I've seen LeBron do this a multitude of times. He treats the Eastern Conference playoffs like a science experiment, like spring training. He did it last year with Boston. He knew they were going to beat the Celtics. They crushed them at the end of the regular season. They get up on him, and then game 3, he doesn't shoot. Kyrie Love, you carry me. They don't lose. He comes back and dominates. So in game 1 against Indiana, he doesn't shoot for 10 minutes. And my takeaway was, this is LeBron saying, I want to see what Rodney Hood's got and what Jeff Green's got and Kevin Love, because he doesn't like to practice much, so he doesn't know exactly what he has, and he's thinking, I'm going to let the guy. And by the way, he looks up, and they're down 16.
Yep.
And I just think this is what he does.
Well, I mean, if you look what Jeff Green had, not much. But it should also be pointed out, LeBron James was 0 of 10 outside of the lane.
He was.
Okay? He has this when we write the story of LeBron James, it's a lot like how we write the story of Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton Manning's the greatest quarterback ever with a bad arm. Right? Like, I don't ever remember him throwing a great spiral.
Right.
Like, all these other guys, great arms. Peyton Manning, but he was still able to win a couple of Super Bowls, win MVPs, and set records. LeBron James is arguably, in the conversation of the greatest player of all time, and his trust in his jump shot goes up and goes down.
Free throws as well.
Sometimes when he starts thinking about it, right? Like, that's why he gets into that kind of awkward step back. Like, that's his go-to. He doesn't have to think about a shot. So do I think that he's trying to? It's not that they don't practice. That hurts them defensively. But not having seen Rodney Hood in the playoffs, these guys have not played at a playoff level, and he wanted to see, I'm sure, if they were ready. But it's also fair to point out that his jump shot wasn't playoff ready. This is the best he's ever shot the ball in the regular season. And all of a sudden he gets to the playoffs and he can't make a jump shot in game 1. That's troubling. Now, the good news is that, you know how it says in your mirror, objects may be closer than they appear? Right? Objects teams in game one are much closer than the final scores would lead you to believe. Don't believe me? The Heat, after getting blown out, go and win a game on the road. Yeah. I'm with you in that he was testing out some of the stuff, but he's also trying to figure out who can I count on when my jump shot's not falling, because he lost confidence in his own jump shot the other day.
By the way, you start looking at the NBA, 9 of the 10 winning teams have won because the three-point shot went down. I always loved, and I've been complaining about this for 2 years, there were a lot of ways to win. I got a great backcourt. We'll push you around like the bad boy Pistons. We'll Showtime Lakers. We'll be on the break. Like, if you don't hit threes, you lose. If you do, you win. As a basketball savant, a guy that lives it, played it, loves it internationally, domestically. Man, I watch these playoff games. You don't hit threes, you lose. That's just the way it is. Doesn't it? Sometimes hasn't the game been? It's reductive. Like, the basketball now is, can you hit threes?
Yes, and baseball is, can you hit home runs, right? We saw the Astros to where it's just, you just hit home runs and you win games, and that's not like, there's no 2-out rallies, there's no bunts, there's no slapping a single to first base. Yes, within reason. There's also he who makes the most layups wins, because the three will stretch out your defense, and if you're getting easy twos, you end up winning games. I think that you have to not fool your. There are teams, if you shoot 15 of 30 or 18 of 35 from three, you're going to win those games.
Period. Yeah.
But the idea that, hey, let's just take a bunch of threes and the ones we make, we're going to win those games. Yeah. That's what did in the Cavs in game one. They weren't making those same jump shots. It should, Bogdanovich didn't make his for the Pacers. Does the 3-point shot does it change basketball for the worst? A little bit. But it does really space the court. It does give us some great action at the rim. And I think the telling part is, yes, it's threes, but it's also layups as much as anything. If you can hit people with body blows of just getting layups, not post-up shots, but dead layups, because the defense is spread out, I think that can nullify some of the numbers of the three-point shot.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.